Okay then, folks, so this is going to be our last talk of the day. Then we're going to take some questions and then do sort of a little bit of a wrap up, and hopefully what we'd like to engage with you post this event as well. So Adrian and Phil have mentioned some really important thoughts there, actually, about measuring and improving and changing the quality. But from my point of view, the question I keep asking is who are you improving it for, and what is the strand that drives this through your transformation? For me, this is around the concept of a digital service or a service design. Now, I'll talk about Agile in a minute, but you know, as much as I love Agile, Lean eats Agile for breakfast. Because this is an important concept for me. A digital strategy without a user experience is a broken strategy. How many teams or how many organizations here have got UX or UX teams inside their organization? How many people have got user experience people they work with? Yeah? How many people work, and that's not that many inside this room. How many people engage, even without small handed, with their UX teams regularly? Okay. There's a fantastic book from O'Reilly called User Experience Strategy, and it talks about the sliding scale of the value of UX. UX is about design. It's about measuring and understanding where the customer is and where the customer comes from, where the customer's needs. Adrian spoke passionately about trying to improve things for the people, improve things for those needs. When it comes down to what they're trying to do for that cycle team, the needs of the cyclist and the aim of their goal to win gold medal was critical to every decision that was being made. You can't continually improve unless you have a concept of where you're moving or measuring to. Now, what you can recognize is a service that's designed and not designed well has a problem for us. And I don't believe that anyone inside your organization, anyone inside my organization, is not trying to build an effective and efficient service or strategy. But if you get it wrong from the customer's perspective, you have significant problems. Does anyone know Kylie Jenner? One of the Kardashians. Kylie Jenner's tweet yesterday about how much she disliked the new Snapchat UI and experience has cost Snapchat $1 billion worth of money in 24 hours. So there's a big fallback from Snapchat's redesign of their process and service, which is actually not meeting the need of their customer. How many people in this room have used Windows 8? It's interesting, Tess was talking about earlier on about moving from Windows 7 now to Windows 10. Why didn't people adopt Windows 8? Because everyone hated Windows 8. It looked beautiful, but everyone hated Windows 8. Anyone who stuck their hands up with Windows 8, did you enjoy Windows 8 for the first time you used it? I've used Windows since Windows 3.1, if anyone goes that far back, okay? And there's one thing that has consistently been part of Windows all my way through my Windows life was how I knew how to launch a program and shut it down. I've worked with computers, and I've had a computer in my house since I've been about 10 years old, and I looked at Windows 8 and I didn't have a clue. And I thought to myself, if I'm looking at that, Phil's mum ain't going to have a chance. She's not going to be able to fix that problem or understand what happened. They violated mental models, they violated user needs, and they put themselves in a position where they designed something which didn't meet the needs of the actual environment. Now that's what UX does, and I believe we're all trying to build towards a good experience, but often what we're doing when we're building a service or we're building a solution is we are building in separate silos of responsibility without a common alignment around the needs of the actual user. And if we don't build for the user, we have Windows 8. There will be products and solutions and services you might be still forced to use today, but you would choose not to use. When you come to organizations, pro or con around organizations like Uber, which would describe themselves as a platform as service, they have created entire ecosystems around the idea that they have created a service and a product that makes ordering taxis effective. On a Friday night, as you head back this evening, maybe you'll treat yourself to something from Just Eat. Anyone use Just Eat? Yeah, fantastic service. You talk about uptimes and DevOps and all these things. These are these are sort of a service design and DevOps organization, and they are currently feeling the pinch from Deliveroo. Because Deliveroo looked at a need that wasn't being met. They said, got takeaway sorted, but what about all these restaurants that people like to go to? And maybe we could get food from the restaurant to the house and get them into that more high dining experience. That would be an interesting market. So this disruptor is now being disrupted. I mean, I was sure that I was going to get the Agile Manifesto up here, but this is an important couple of lines here. Individual interactions over processes and tools. What individuals? The individuals inside your organization, absolutely, but the individuals you're building from, the concept of the user, of the customer. Working software over comprehensive documentation. Is it simple? Is it easy? Does it fit into the idea of the user's perspective? Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. For customer, let's put a line to that and say user and user collaboration. Have we got anyone here from Government Digital Services or from any of the civil service sectors inside business, the government? I am a huge fan of what Government Digital Services do, and if you haven't read it, Government Digital Services have a service design manual and a service design roadmap. And I always challenge people, with any organisation, if central government can innovate around user service design, you can do it. You've got no excuse. Okay? Because they are about change. Because this is the incredibly important thing about user experience and user needs. Okay? We innovate and we change. My signature look used to be tweed waistcoats and jacket. Phil Sturpey has stolen that, so I've innovated towards stripy jumpers. The point being that you move through that nebula of innovation, you've got to have a change. Okay. You say that now, Phil, 2 years' time. You're not going to get cycling journeys from me. You're going to get something a bit more geeky. This, if anyone ever used Fighting Fantasy novels of the 30th anniversary, Ian Livingstone wrote a new one. It's come up a few times today. It's good how these talks have all come together as if there was a plan. There was a plan. It was mine. There is a strategy and a theme that has gone through the service and the topics that I've built up today. And this is what I feel. Whenever I picked up this new Fighting Fantasy book, I was very excited to get this, reading this, one of 337 of 500 copies, signed by the author, and there is a journey. And by the end of it, I'm quite satisfied that I've got there. Because what's critical to this is what this entire concept around is we have to move people from the concept that we're not building services, we're not building solutions, sorry, not building products, we're not building solutions, we're building services with the customer at their core. And importantly, the service tier and the service identification of who the user is, their needs and objectives, is critical across every aspect, from the point the business needs to meet that need to the point that it's in business as usual, being managed by your service desk in your ITIL function. All of this is about the service competency and management. That, if you talk to me for long enough, I will start going on about value streams. I am obsessed with value streams and alignment of value streams, because how you turn verticals into horizontals. And the value stream alignment allows us to transform an organization so everyone inside the delivery of a service is built around this. You start seeing this from a technical point of view, building into different environments. You now hear about things like microservice design. When we talk about microservice design, what are we doing? We're building services which are maintainable, scalable, changeable, but all of these things align across a center of needs. So with the customer at its center, we can sort of think about a few critical things. A digital service is user-centered. If we don't understand who the user is and we haven't understand the segment of audience you're moving towards, you have a significant challenge. I have a friend who is a UX consultant in Edinburgh. She's recently gone into a startup and they've got this product that's ready to go, and they've never done a persona. They've never mapped a user, and their product is ready. And the first question is, ready for who and ready for what? There's a major bank, which I won't mention, who, when I was doing a DevOps transformation program with them recently, they succeeded in their DevOps transformation. They delivered under budget, on time, did everything that was expected, but the leadership and the business case for the customer segment didn't pan out. So as a result of this, the adaptation of the product was a failure, not because of the technical implementation, but because the leadership and the earlier intervention of the user goal-based solution was not consistent. So you can measure and improve continually. What Phil and Adrian have talked about makes it easier to analyze, easier to change, and easier to pivot. These are co-created environments. I'm passionate about user experience. I'm passionate about user engagement and culture. It is what I talk and do more than anything else these days, even coming from a deep technical background. But the service is a co-created environment. We had a conversation earlier today about innovation workshops and stuff like this. Service design workshops, these are fantastic. Get everyone as part of a process. Get everyone as part of a stakeholder environment together, planning, working, delivering, and designing what they understand about the service, and more importantly, what they don't understand about the service, because we will backfill all sorts of assumptions because we haven't got clear process maps, we haven't redesigned them, and we haven't built a model these across your service role. This is an evolution of the user experience role. This is an evolution of your process designer, your Lean Six Sigma, your business analyst, who sits in an environment. What they do is they help us to sequence and generate effective solutions. Have we thought about the sequence of the processes, and are they effective and efficient in the way that we're moving through? Are they appropriate? Do we really meet user needs? If you look, I mean, I've got my iPhone here, timing down. I've got an iPhone. Who else has got an iPhone? How many people have got Android devices? Okay, about 50-50 split. 50% of you have got good taste, 50% of you have got poor taste. But the position being on the phone is ultimately, functionally, these are the same things, but from a needs perspective. If I ask you why you prefer an Android device or why you prefer an iPhone, you'll give me quite an emotive response to that, and it's actually about the engagement to the service that you currently have. Adrian mentioned things like, we get used to using things like HSBC. I recently got an Amex. I love the Amex interface so much. It's actually got me to the point, well, the mobile one, the website's terrible. For a service, it's so manageable. I've realized how bad my bank's interface is. And I'm now looking for a new bank because their user experience and service journey is so poor. Evidenced and data-driven. And this comes back into the conversation Phil and Adrian were having. Because if we don't have evidence, we can't pivot, we can't adjust, we can't discover and learn new things. Every decision we make, every business case we make, every service design must be data-driven. That's qualitative and quantitative stuff, especially with the machine learning stuff that Adrian was talking about. You can get open source APIs that allow you to gather the emotional responses of users through cameras free from Microsoft. You can do online translations of language. You can do speech synthesis and emotional attenuations, and these are just parts of where we are today. So we can learn more and more about our qualitative insights from our customer, allowing us to transform. But beyond that, we can do all sorts of qualitative work inside it. And this is my most important word, and this is why I am a huge lean thinker. It is holistic, system-based design. If we are not all part of an agreed taxonomy, an agreed approach towards a service design, what we can do accidentally is we can be as efficient and as effective as we can be, but we downstream problems to someone else in the service, and that's just not good enough. You can be the most high-performing agile team in the world. You can be Scrum experts, but what you do is you ship something to the operations team that makes it impossible for them to manage, and that is not a holistic viewpoint of the service. This is a thought leader in UX design called Paul Boag. It's on his website. This is an empathy map. If you have a picture of your husband, wife, loved one, children, dogs, Benedict Cumberbatch, doesn't matter. Get it off your desk and get your picture of Brian up from this point forward. Brian is your user. He's an empathy-based user. In an empathy workshop, we can get everyone to the position where we understand in a snapshot who is our user and what is their needs and why are they using our product. There's all sorts of other techniques around this, like personas and interviews, but this is the skills that a user experience team can bring in to map against the user environment. Just last week, I was with part of the digital transformation team for Scottish Government, and we were going through this from a business analyst point of view, and they realized if they'd been measuring and doing some of this stuff months and months earlier, they'd have a far better idea of whether they were to succeed before they'd built a service, built an interface, and when they needed to have interfaces built, what adjustments would be made to continually improve. Because you can't continue to improve, you can't continue to change unless you've got someone you are changing for. Okay, and as I say, it's called an empathy map. Quite simply, what tasks is the user going to do? What are their pain points? What are their goals? Users don't use products, they don't use systems, they have goals. Government digital service is a fantastic example of this. Who's used the service to renew your car tax online? Yeah? Okay. Good service? Like it? What's good about it? The gentleman there nodding in the back of the glass. What was good about it? Sorry, sir.
Quite simple to use, which I was surprised at.
Yeah. The entire government digital transformation service and all of their plan around it is a strategy about it's going to be so easy to use these services, why would you do anything else? I renewed my passport online by having my wife take a photo on my phone and did all of it on my phone and renewed my passport. It was... But those are grudge purchases. No one enjoys paying their car tax. Does anyone want to contradict that one? Enjoy paying their car tax? No. We don't enjoy doing it, but we can service it within minutes and it's done. So it's a grudge purchase delivered simple, easily and effectively meeting the needs of the user. And the government digital services bring people into a chest to adjust, to find and discover continually. One of the most interesting findings I ever saw from them was when they brought out the new carers allowance, they assumed a number of their users would be accessing through mobile devices. As they released it and the process was going up to early betas, they discovered actually we're getting an increasing number of people dialing in of all places from libraries, because it was a complex process that people were concerned about the outcomes of, and that pain point had to be tracked. So you now look at maybe can we put better support into libraries for people using this service so it's a greater degree of accuracy. But the service map is fundamentally, it's a process map, but it's aligned to a concept called a mental model, which means the user's needs and objectives are met as well. And it looks across from the inception of the business to the goals and the value that we're trying to deliver. So the customer journey and the service, journey maps, anyone uses journey maps in their organizations or seen customer journeys? Some of you nodding. Process maps, how many people are using process maps? Yeah? More of you nodding. Those of you nodding with process maps, how many of those processes are contextualized with user behavior and needs? If we could start just there, we've got processes which are about user needs, whether internal or external. And this isn't a value stream, and it's a vision with the user-centered behavior aligned against it that tells us what service looks like and measures, back to we talked about metrics, I talked about the Google Heart framework, to the stuff that Tessa was talking about. They're going to deliver a new service and a transformation internally or externally. Let's measure that, let's quantify it, let's do it for quantitative and qualitative analysis techniques to learn more about the system. Organizations that digitally transform successfully, whatever the culture is, have people that see beyond the walls. It's not just my bit. It's not my bit being excellent. We're all excellent or we're all rubbish. And that's the lean concept and wrapper around any aspect, whether it's ITIL or Scrum, Prince, it doesn't matter. The lean aspect is its collective responsibility and collective improvement. And what happens there is you start getting insights from other people inside the organization. We had questions this morning about where does innovation come from? How can we do that? If we understand the whole journey, we understand the pain points of the user, we understand gaps in our service, gaps in our analysis, and that holistic view is one of the first tools I would use in an organization to help them to innovate, because through mapping and understanding the process, the journeys, and the user's interaction, you show where there is a better way to work. There's a fantastic example from ING Bank, who are a Dutch bank. And they're now one of the bigger challenger banks in Germany, and they do not have a branch in the country. They've created a really effective, customer-centric, DevOps, continuous improvement-based approach to a mobile app that allows people to bank with confidence because they're inside the EU, and that allows them to work very effectively. So they've grown really quickly by providing access to the right information at the right time. And that's the innovation opportunity. If we can get the service right, we improve incredibly what our customer deals for, because we're building our business values and our business aims and our technology roadmap around the true aspect of transformation, which I come back to this morning, is about the people. Your people inside your organization should care more about the people they serve than almost anything else. That's an example of post-it notes everywhere. Again, 10 years ago, I wish I'd thought to invest in post-it with shares and stock options, because with Agile and DevOps and design thinking UX, the number of post-its that we go through is quite terrifying. Okay? But that's the important part of it, because what we want to do is we want to measure the user in their context. We're talking about continuous improvement and minimal viable products and all of this stuff. The idea of a minimal viable product is fundamentally get something in someone's hand, measure what they're using, measure what they're not using, measuring the pain points, measuring the slowness, measuring the speed. All of these things are analytics that come back into what Adrian's doing. And by the way, we can program machines now to understand and measure the analytics and stop worrying and asking those questions for us. And once we solve problems, let's ask some new questions and measure new metrics and new analytics. So the user's context gives us real data feedback about the entire service design, allowing our agile teams, our ITIL teams, our thought leaders, our innovative thinkers, our system thinkers to learn more effectively. The service is the aspect that the user interacts with. And we set that in that context. We're pairing innovation with business. A mapped service creates a view of the user and your place in their world. Okay? And that's the most important thing. The reason we make decisions not to use particular service or features anymore is there's a better way of doing it. I've been with my bank, they'll remain nameless, for many, many years, one of the first internet banks, and I've used a better mobile experience going, I think it's time to go. It's not because of the banking service, because of the experience and the customer service they provide to me. Continual to learn and understand the world view and how it changes. Okay? Snapchat on Monday this week, so last week, we said, people go, Facebook's now for old people, young people use Snapchat. And this week, Snapchat's not cool because Kylie Jenner said so. So the shift is actually really quick. That shift to transformation is incredible. Your view and your model of your user and their needs will change, and it will change like that. And if you've not built user-centric, modular service design across this thread of user goals, the change then is monolithically slow for organizations to get there. Okay? Serve them as one, pivot without mercy. And that is one of my closing points. Pivot without mercy. Data tells you quickly whether you're making the right decisions, whether users are doing things. I hear continually that businesses make investment choices and we've got a 2-year plan and a 3-year plan, or we're on a waterfall, and those sort of changes, we can't change now we've started a program. It's better to waste £250,000 than it is to waste £1 million on a service that no one wants. And actually that's a consideration from business and leadership that we should learn more about that. Through continuous metrics, through continuous measurement and continuous movement, we can develop services which transform our user experience and transform the fates of our business because we're making the right investments at the right time and being willing to continually learn, to fail fast, and whatever other term we want to put it, but to put our hands up to say what we thought we were doing was right isn't. And if we model our view of our service around our user, we build our business, our goal, and our digital transformation journey around them, which is critical for what we do. And at that point, I'm going to close and go for questions, and then we'll just do a wrap-up. So thank you very much.